Hello, everyone. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Can anyone write in the chat and let me know if you can hear? Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Aloha mai kako, which in my language means hello, everyone. I'm so grateful that you guys can join us today for a webinar that is really close to my heart because the first I don't even know how long it's been. For the first 7, 8 months of this year, it was really difficult for my family and I to adjust. We're still adjusting every day, but I'm here to share amazing resources that are available to you just without you having to search for them. So hopefully you can find something useful out of this webinar, persevering through the pandemic and how to, we're going to be navigating telework and work outside of the home. So let's go ahead and get started. Oops. Oh, so sorry. So first I want to talk about the Administration for Native Americans. Now, ANA's mission is to promote self-sufficiency for Native Americans and Pacific Islanders by providing discretionary grant funding for community-based projects and training and technical assistance to eligible tribes and Native organizations. Their vision is to have all Native communities thriving. I actually work for the ANA TTA Center, and I can attest to seeing these Native communities thrive, and it is truly amazing. We have a special treat today. The ANA Commissioner Ms. Jeannie Hovland has joined us. I'm going to go ahead and turn on her camera and see if she wants to do a little introduction.
Hi, Sisha. I have audio, but I don't have video, as far as I can tell.
Oh, no.
Which I'm okay with that.
Okay, let me just go back to your picture.
Okay. Oh, here I am.
Yes. Oh, there you are. Yay.
Yes, great. Well, Nahani Wash Day and Petu Wash Day, good morning or good afternoon, wherever you're at. Chante Wash Day and Ape Choose Up I greet you with a good heart. I'm Jeannie Hovland, Flandreau Sante Riate Matahan Sto. I am a member of the Flandreau Sante Sioux tribe located in South Dakota, and we always open traditionally by stating that we greet you with a good heart, and I truly and sincerely mean that I greet you with a good heart today. Thank you for joining us, for taking the time to have this opportunity to talk about how we can and should be caring for ourselves during this time of this pandemic. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Pacific team at Ka'ana Nayao for hosting this in partnership with ANA, and for Shisa for putting this presentation together today. I'm here as commissioner, but I'm also here as an individual personally, because COVID has affected all of us personally, professionally, our families, our communities. And so I felt that it was so important to not only be here to show my support for ANA, many of our staff that are joining today, but also for myself. It is important that we are caring for ourselves. The better that we take care of ourselves, the better that we are able to care for those around us and the responsibilities that we have in our lives, professionally and personally. So know that at ANA, our team is dedicated to serving the Native communities that we have the honor to be part of the journey with our grantees. So it's important that we are, as a team, also taking time to seek out ways to support us through this pandemic, the changes that have come to learning to work remotely, the virtual platform, the challenges with technology that some have in our communities, or when we're overloaded in Washington, D.C. and have challenges out here also. But at the end of the day, we want to remember that as Native people, we've been through a lot, much adversity. Our ancestors have and continue so. This is a modern day situation, but we want to draw upon the resiliency and that we've seen from our ancestors and remain hopeful and know that we too will overcome this, and that this is a time that we support one another in our homes and in our communities and across the nation. So this is ANA's way of saying that we are here to support you and looking for resources that are out there available, but also making sure that we remember our cultures, our languages, our traditions as we look at services and supportive services that are out there for us. So I don't want to take away too much time from today's webinar. There's a lot of great resources that we're going to hear about and ideas, so I'm looking forward to it. And again, I just thank you all for being part of today's webinar. So back to you, Shisa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Hovland. It means a lot that you're on today's webinar, and we can go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go ahead and talk about is the elephant in the room, pandemic exhaustion. What is it? The CDC has a really great article on coping with stress, and this has everything to do with stress during an infectious disease outbreak, which is what we're all going through. And how do I know if I'm feeling the effects of the pandemic? I just want to remind everyone, for a lot of us, this is the first time we're going through it. So even for myself as a work from home mom, I didn't realize that the emotions that I were feeling was actually pandemic exhaustion. It was because of the things that surround COVID that I was starting to feel certain ways at home. Some stresses that we will face are fear and worry about your own health and the health of your loved ones, changes in sleep or eating patterns, difficulty sleeping or concentrating, worsening of chronic health problems, and worsening of mental health conditions. If you have one of these, two of these, some of these, or all of these, just know that you're not alone. Next, I want to introduce myself. My name is Shisa Kahaunile, and I'm going to be your moderator today. I'm going to be introducing all of the different amazing resources that we have and just bringing it to your attention. First, I'd like to introduce myself as a mother. You know, our family has been isolating since before the mandates in my area went in February 2020. As soon as we heard wind of it, I have two children under two, so we have a pretty high risk house. So we wanted to isolate as soon as we found out about it, which was really difficult because later I would find out how hard it is to be isolated with two children. We are a two-parent household with two children under the age of 2. And the biggest challenge was and is learning how to balance the developmental growth of our children with two different work schedules. That last point, I really want to thank the Office of Head Start. They have so many amazing resources for how to help your children through this, which is something that as a mother, I felt like I was failing in, but later learned the resources available online just helped kickstart our family into a routine that would make it easier not only for us as parents, but for my children who are really young to understand that what's happening is okay and we'll get through it. So I do have extreme pandemic fatigue. It has been a very long year, but we're all in this together. I work full time from home, like many of you, and I'm also working with two children under 2 since before COVID, we had childcare. And after COVID, because of the social distance rules, we don't have childcare anymore. So that's kind of my situation and how just what I want you to know as a background before I get into the resources that I've chosen with these different organizations. So just an overview of today's presentation, what we're talking about. First, we're going to talk about teleworking, which I know some of the people on the call, I do recognize the names and I know we're all working from home. working outside of the home, which is my husband's dynamic, and kind of how we do the whole two-parent household during a pandemic. It's been difficult, but the resources I'm going to show you today are really going to help. And lastly, resources that's going to help everyone. This will help our veterans, our children, and our elders. Okay, so the first big one we're going to talk about is working from home. What is the reality of working from home? Well, this character that you see on the screen is me every day. Um, you're constantly worrying about everything: the virus, your schedule, the babies, what time it is, the notifications. The really great thing about these resources and our government organizations taking the time to put these together is that I learned that you need to first identify the stress. John Hopkins Center for American Indian Health released a PDF on managing stress during COVID-19. They talk about recognizing the signs of stress. Is there an increase or decrease in energy and activity levels? Do you have an increase in frustration with outbursts of anger and frequent arguing? Do you have trouble relaxing or sleeping? Not wanting to eat or eating too much? Worrying much more than usual? Wanting to be alone most of the time? Not being able to feel pleasure or have fun? Feeling depressed, anxious, and fearful? And is there an increase in alcohol use or use of illegal drugs? This is really important because this is coming from the American Indian Health, which allows us to, as Native Americans and Native as Pacific Islanders, to really connect with the things that are happening within our own communities. And the biggest change for me during this whole time is not actually being able to, in person, be with my communities that we were with almost every week before the pandemic started. So once we recognize the signs of stress, the next step to dealing with our stress is managing it. So I just want to point out that the bolded white font is going to be a friendly tip that was also given by the Johns Hopkins Center for American Indian Health. And the unbolded font is going to be how we use this in my family and how it's worked. So first, taking a break. I just want to say that if you're working at home, if you're working outside of the home, if you have children, if you don't have children, whatever your situation is, you're doing an amazing job and you're allowed to have a break. What I like to do is schedule a 2-minute break every couple of hours during the workday. If it's a deep breathing session, if it's just getting a drink of water with no devices around me, I always make sure that I take a couple minutes to myself to regroup and make sure that I'm hearing myself and I'm giving myself what I need. Another thing that I like to use is meditation. Making a meditation routine with my family has helped calm us down while spending time together. This is something that took a lot of work with my husband because it's something new to his understanding, but meditation really helps because it slows down your breathing and kind of forces you to relax. The favorite thing of my children is our fresh air break, and an inhale of fresh air between meetings or work tasks really help you recenter for the next project. For my children, it really helps to have a different scenery at the time because usually we're inside and they're doing, my daughter's doing her schoolwork while I'm working. And it's just really good to see them take a breath of fresh air. Next is reaching out. Talking to family and friends has helped relieve the weight I felt due to isolation. And this helps because not only am I reaching out to confide in someone, but also allowing them the space to confide in me as well. I noticed when I started reaching out, and this was, I want to say 5 months ago is when I got a hold of all these amazing resources. And I realized that my family and friends were feeling the same way, but they didn't know how to approach reaching out. And I really want to, if you can take one thing away from this, please just call someone you know, a family, a friend, a colleague, and see how they're doing. Just check in. Lastly, I want to talk about boundaries. So, creating boundaries with work and home have helped me focus on each commitment better. And what I mean by this is it's hard for us to take a break from work when you work from home. There's actually zones in our house that are, device free. So that's when, especially at the dinner table, we try not to have our devices so that we can have, we can be present with our families. And the reason for that is to make sure that the zone that you're in, the space you're in, is what you're going to give your all to, which is really, really hard when you're doing so many things from home in the comfort of your own home. But I'm hoping that with these 5 suggestions, it can help you better manage the stress that you're going through. Okay, working while caregiving. Not everyone's this isn't on everyone's plate, but I do see a lot of parents on the call, so this is for you guys. Caregivers, whether you're working with elders, children, or high risk individuals. So I actually was a caregiver for both my grandparents. It was such an honor to do that because you get to spend every day with them. And the stories that you'll hear while taking care of your elders is something that I will remember for the rest of my life. But something that I've noticed was my days were a lot easier to manage with my grandparents and with my children when I made a plan. So, planning your day out may help with some control over your schedule. Time blocking works for me as it allows me, a 2 to 3 hour time block to complete a certain amount of things for work and for my children or for my grandparents at the time. Um, this doesn't work all the time. And I just want to let you know that I don't think everything or anything will work all the time, but it's more of helping you maintain some kind of routine to help ease your stress and kind of let you expect what's going to happen next in your day, which, as of right now, this pandemic is very unexpected. There's a lot of things that are out of our control. And one thing that I've learned is we just control the things that we can and try our best to go with the flow for the things that we cannot control. My biggest thing with being a caregiver is don't forget about you. Give yourself a break often so you don't get burnt out. Acknowledge your stress and reach out when you need help. And I'm still working on that because reaching out for help is difficult, especially because people mean well by trying to offer help. But if they're in a high risk job or you're afraid that you might be sick, it is really hard to get help. But reaching out to express your feelings is so necessary. And lastly, try to include your family in mindful activities. I did meditation with my grandma, and it really helped her ease her stress. And it was something so new to her because she wasn't raised with meditation, and giving her a new outlet really helped her accept that this works, and it's something that she enjoyed doing, and we got to do together every day. So, our first mental wellness exercise is going to be my favorite thing, which is deep breathing. So, multiple times during the day. And this is after either child throws a tantrum or I'm stressed out about something at work. I like to just do deep breathing. So, if you want to do this with me, we're going to do 3 deep inhales and exhales. I like to have ocean sounds near my desk to help with calming. And we're just going to do 1 deep inhale and exhale. And when you do this, try and imagine that you're inhaling all the good things and you're exhaling all of the stress, all of the bad things. So, second deep breath, inhale and exhale. And some days are harder than others, and I have to inhale deeper to really get in that good mana, that good power, and exhale all of the stuff that's bothering me. So, last time, dig deep, inhale, and exhale. And it's really the best tool as a mother because this is something that um, has helped my daughter with a lot of things, especially when she has a tantrum. Now, if something is making her upset, she'll stop what she's doing, inhale, exhale, and give me whatever thing that is frustrating her. Maybe she can't, fit one of her toys, the cubes in the right spot when she's doing her hand-eye coordination activities, or maybe her crayon broke. It just really helps to teach this nice deep breathing of how to relax and how to recenter. So that is the reality of working from home. And like I mentioned, all these tips may not work all the time, but I'm hoping that for you, they work some of the time. So next, we're going to do working outside of the home. I have so much respect for all of you first responders, essential workers, and all of you non essential workers that needed to go back to work. You help our society continue to move, and you are making a huge sacrifice by working outside of your home. And I just wanted to say thank you. So, there are many people who are returning back to work or have been working through the pandemic. Now, we have talked about pandemic fatigue, we have talked about stresses at home, but now we need to talk about and address workplace fatigue. So, what is this? Do I have workplace fatigue? What you want to do is watch yourself and your coworkers for signs of fatigue, like yawning, difficulty keeping your eyes open, and difficulty concentrating. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention talks about what workers and employers can do to manage workplace fatigue during COVID. And the reason for this is because we do have extra stresses that I had mentioned earlier, and now you're still having the regular stresses of work. And not to mention, it is a lot of work, but well worth it to do your sanitization processes and then having to do extra things at work so that we can keep each other safe because we're all in this together. And we just want to make sure that you can identify if you have workplace fatigue and how can we address it. So tips to help would be if it takes you longer than 15 minutes to fall asleep, because the recommended amount of sleep that you need as an adult is 7 to 9 hours. So what you want to do is if you're having difficulty, if it's taking longer than 15 minutes to fall asleep, set aside some time before bedtime to do things to help you relax. Try meditating, relaxation breathing, like that deep breathing that we just did, and maybe even progressive music relaxation or muscle relaxation. For our family, we just don't have devices near the bed because I feel like that anxiety of, oh, I'm going to get a notification keeps me awake. So that's definitely helped. But meditating before bed, even with my children, is a nice routine and it helps them fall asleep faster, which is always the goal. The next thing we can do is using a buddy system while you're at work. Check in with each other to ensure everyone is coping with work hours and demands. My husband works outside of the home. He is a first responder, and all of the wives have a text thread, and we like to communicate to make sure that everyone is okay. We take turns making snacks for them because they're always on the road. And this idea of buddy system to make sure that everyone is good and alert not only helps ease my anxiety of when he leaves for work, but it also helps out our other halves that are having to work these crazy hours, which again, really grateful for. He works 7 days a week. He's always on call. So it's definitely a sacrifice worth making as a family because it ensures that the public is safe. The last thing that you can do as an employee is find out if your employer has a formal program to help you manage fatigue on the job. You can read information about the program and ask questions so you fully understand the policies and procedures for helping manage this fatigue. Or you can go online and try and see if you can find anything that way if you don't want to talk to someone. But again, we just want to make sure that everyone is safe and we're noticing that there are different types of things that surround this pandemic. So I want to talk about multi-generational homes. So returning home after work is definitely a challenge. And it's something that we as a family had to figure out a system to make this safe for us in our household with our two children that are high risk, and how to make sure that we can keep the germs outside and keep the inside clean. So, our Native American communities, our Pacific Island communities, we love living in our multi generational homes. We love being surrounded by families, but we also want to keep each other safe. So, what we can do is first wash your hands for at least 20 seconds right after you return home. And if you can't wash with soap and water, use an alcohol based hand sanitizer. Another thing is to maintain as much physical distance as possible from those at higher risk in the home. So you want to avoid hugging, kissing, and sharing food the best that you can. My husband does, I do a lot more with the kids just because he works in the public so much, but um, we're really, really lucky to have him do what he does because it gives me ease to know that he's out there helping. Another thing that we have figured out is necessary is a system. So your system doesn't have to be as elaborate. It can be anything that works for you and your family. But for us, we like to remove our shoes outside. We actually disinfect them by putting them directly in the sun. And then we just rotate his shoes until, we need to actually throw them in the washer. Next is to spray all items with disinfectant. He actually keeps his work stuff in the garage, and then nothing from work or from his car will come into the house beside his phone, which he sanitizes. Carefully remove and dispose of your face mask. Thankfully, his job does supply some face masks, so he'll do that at work. And then at the end of every week, I'll wash all of our masks. Say I need to take the kids to the doctors or something like that. I'll always make sure that we have our face masks washed at the end of the week. Um, Wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. He does this, I do this, and I think the constant repetition has made our children want to do it, which is really fun. I think kids make everything fun. So it's been really nice to do that together. And put your clothes away and wash them. So because he's a first responder, he actually changes outside, and then we make sure that that is away from the children if they ever play outside, which lately it's just been so gloomy in Hawaii. But that's kind of our system, and it's working for now. And like I said, this doesn't always work. Sometimes he's in between shifts and he just needs to run home. But by creating a system, it really not only protects the elders in your home, but it also just helps create a routine if you have any children in the household, and that helps them better understand, what's happening. It helps them create some kind of understanding within the time and how things are moving along in everyday life. So that's working outside of the home. Lastly, I want to touch upon resources, and this is specific to get us through this together. First, I really want to talk about supporting our veterans. I am a proud family member of many veterans that have served this country, and more than ever, they need our help. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention has a really, really nice article about support for veterans. And this is important because the veterans in my family are older and they don't have the same, tech. I'm very good with tech stuff. I'm very good with online stuff, and they're not good at that. So I really want to point out that in my family situation, my after reaching out to the veterans of my family and offering the information that they need, you can just feel that they're at ease because they didn't have to ask for it, which a lot of our native communities, our elders are just so sweet and they feel like they're bothering, which they're not. They're really not bothering, but they just don't want to feel like they're bothering anyone. But by reaching out to them, you're allowing them a safe space to, actually, I might need this and I don't know how to get this. And if we can help, if you know a veteran, I would really appreciate if you call them and just see if they need anything. The CDC talks about veterans that may experience worry or anxiety about their risk for contracting COVID or about their ability to get recommended care. So, the fear or concern about the impact of COVID-19 on physical health and daily life may contribute to the onset of or worsening of existing mental health problems. In addition, the COVID-19 pandemic may increase stress for many service members, and veterans making an already challenging transition from military to civilian life because access to resources may be limited. Um, and really, the transition for everyone is difficult. And if you could just reach out, if you know a veteran, give them a call and see how you can help, whether it be helping find information online and letting them know over the phone, or just being a listening ear to see how they're doing. It really helps if we just stay together and remember that how we're feeling, we're not alone. We're absolutely not alone. I feel like everyone in some way is feeling isolated and they just need someone to talk to. Next, I want to talk about supporting our children. The Office of Head Start Early Childhood Learning and Knowledge Center did such an amazing job with the resources that they have available. This is actually how I started to get so passionate about this webinar, was because um, I was having trouble raising my daughter at home because she was supposed to start school this year. And once the pandemic started, my area, my state was on lockdown. And I felt like I was failing as a mother because I didn't know how to work from home and teach my daughter and do all of the things and juggle them. But the Office of Head Start was like, you can do it. Here are the resources. And it just helped my bring me ease and help my daughter continue to develop, even though I felt like we had lost some time. So the well-being of adults, parents, has a powerful effect on children in their care. They notice when adults are calm, composed, and joyful, and they learn from our examples. Self care for families and children is especially important when they are stressed or isolated. I learned very early on that my children would respond to the high levels of stress I was having with everyday, adjustments to how this pandemic was changing the world around us. And the number one thing that helped, especially because we couldn't go on any more excursions, every Saturday we used to go to the beach, or we used to go to the zoo, or we used to go to the park. And because we couldn't do that anymore, I was completely lost at how to remedy that, especially for my children. I can't imagine how they felt when I was stressed out. Their schedule was completely thrown off. So the next mental wellness exercise is creating a quiet space. This idea is so effective because we replaced what usually would be our outside time or a field trip to somewhere and create a quiet space as suggested by the Early Childhood Learning and Knowledge Center. For us, this is family time that is uninterrupted in a place that is socially distant from the public. We have 2 quiet spaces for our family, and we're so grateful for that. We have one indoors in our living room and one outdoors. This has not only helped our family dynamic, but it allows our children the opportunity to request that we have quiet space by going or bringing us to those designated spaces. Um, this is really special because my daughter is 2, or she's going to be 2 in 9 days. Really exciting. But my daughter is going to be 2 soon, and she does have a speech delay. She's not talking right now, and it's hard for her to communicate. And this has brought me so much joy that she can tell me, Mom, I'm stressed. Mom, I'm not feeling happy. Mom, can we go to our quiet space? And I really want to thank the Office of Head Start because it's completely changed my views as a parent, to recognize when my daughter is stressed out. And by having this quiet space, it's allowed me complete understanding of when my daughter is ready to, calm down, go to this quiet space and spend some time with mom, dad, both of us, or even just her little brother. Sometimes she just takes her little brother with her and they just play or read together. The number one thing I want to tell for parents, anyone who is caring for children, it is okay to take a break. This is new for all of us. Hopefully, these resources will help you and your family, but this is new to all of us. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself a break. And maybe even try deep breathing with your children. It's really helped our family, and I hope that it can help yours too. The last one is supporting our elders. I did want to include a picture of my grandmother, who I love so much. She and my grandfather were who I got to care for. Caregiving had taught me a lot about not only myself, but how to communicate well with people that you highly respect but need to take care of. And sometimes they don't want to be taken care of. They don't want to be a burden, which they never are. But it's definitely taught me how to navigate situations. So the John Hopkins Center for American Indian Health released the Elder Mental Health during COVID-19. And these are some ways that we can support our elders. First, we want to talk about managing stress. Engage your families with information and help them practice prevention measures in order to keep our precious elders safe. And also encourage your family and friends of this elder to call regularly. We, the my children's grandparents are not able to visit them anymore just because of, social distancing. They are high risk. And my husband works with the public every day, and we don't want to risk it. So we do FaceTime every single day, and it's been a joy for their grandparents and for the children as well. And it's just this regular thing of talking to our elders, seeing how they're doing, and giving them that safe space to, if they need to vent. Activities that support elder well being. My grandmother's favorite was Sudoku. So cognitive exercises such as word search, Sudoku, and crossword puzzles help, and relaxation exercises, including breathing, meditation, and mindfulness. My last mental wellness exercise is not only for elders, you can use this across the board, but this is something I learned while caring for my grandparents. The check in is the act of just that, checking in and seeing how they're doing while sparking a conversation. My grandparents were the sweetest souls that didn't want to bother anyone, even though they were never a bother. But the check in allowed us a safe space to talk together. And by asking questions of their interests or by taking a walk down memory lane, it allowed them the freedom to get their mind off of stress and onto things that would make them happy. And I put this in the elder section because it is so amazing to be able to sit down and talk to your elders and hear what they have to say, hear what memories that they have, and those stories that you can pass on to your family or to your community, really. And how special that is. It's so fulfilling. In Hawaiian, we have a word called piha, and it means full. And it is the best way to describe how I feel after sitting down and talking with a kupuna, which is our language's way of saying elder. And I really hope that if you have an elder that just to check in with them, see how they're doing, see if they want to tell you a story about their childhood, or about their experiences. And hopefully, these resources can help us get through this together. After this presentation, once we have everything up, recorded, and transcribed so that it's easy for you to share with other people, you will also be getting a list of all the resources that I've mentioned, plus a few extra. And the goal of that is that you can take what you need, offer it to someone else, and really just giving you the opportunity to go through and see what you might use but might not have known to ask for. Before we exit this webinar, I just wanted to thank you for entering this space with an open mind, and understanding that persevering through the pandemic isn't supposed to be done alone. I've noticed that from looking through all of the different resources that I was sent by these wonderful organizations, these wonderful um, people, this entire pandemic is the one thing that we all have in common is how we're all going through it, right? We're all experiencing it in some way, shape, or form. And I hope that anything that you've learned today, at least one thing that you've learned today, you can pass on to someone else and help them persevere too. We're not alone. We may be right now, I like to describe it as we're all in one ocean. We're just in different boats. We have different things on our boats, different things on our plates, different people with us, but we're all in the same ocean trying to figure out how to navigate the waters. Just remember to use some of these tips to make sure that you don't drown. We're all in this together. Find a listening ear, do some deep breathing, and remember to give yourself grace and time to Listen to what you need and give yourself what you need. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at shisa@kaananial.com or just reply back to the invitation that you received. Have a great day, everyone.